It is Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, and today is our weekly cult meeting, Wizard Wednesday. Channeling in from the Quantum Downs, this is the Black Goat of the Wood, Elf J Trul, and joining me is...
Dotta, what's going on?
What up, Dotta? Where the hell is Bear?
I see him in the crowd. I think he's a SIGGRAPH,
Yeah.
the bleeding edge 3D graphics
What's
conference.
up?
Is it in LA? Is it near
Hi
here?
guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got
What's
you.
up?
I'm going outside. Just give me a second. I'm around all these computer cool graphics things. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. Bears at SIGGRAPH. It is in LA. He looks like he went like last minute. But yeah, I've always wanted to go to SIGGRAPH, but it was always held in Northern California. I think this is the first year it's in LA.
Hi guys, I'm back. Sorry about that.
What up, Bear? How's SIGGRAPH?
SIGGRAPH is really cool. I feel like I am the wrong person to be here. I feel like you should be here, Elf, or like Waz or Frog, Dotta. You would probably totally kill it here too. I'm just going around being like, oh, that looks cool. I'll take a picture of the company and get like the name of the person that I talked to, and then I'm just gonna shoot you guys a big email. The one of the things actually I think you guys would be happy is I'm trying to find like a third-party company or software platform that can sort of take all of our models and make the process to rig the faces a little bit easier, so we can start using for VTubing and all sorts of like streaming and all sorts of stuff like that. I think that would be fun.
I bet, Dotta, you like the sound of that.
I would love to have face rigs.
Yeah, so there's that. There's a ton. Yeah, there's a ton of really cool stuff. I went to SIGGRAPH a couple of times when it was in Northern California when I had that VR company, and it's like a mix of tech that's really cool, but there's no real application yet. Like I'm still, even this year, there's like all this like haptics tech where you put on the glove or the vest and you're playing like a FPS, let's say, and you get shot and you feel it, or you're firing the gun or blasting magic, you feel it in your hands. It's really cool, but you have like these suits and these gloves, it's still just not consumer friendly, and you really have to like be pretty deep in the space to get it working. So it's a lot of it is just sort of looking into the future about like what may be on the horizon. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I went to CES a few months ago and there was a surprising amount of VR projects being worked on and haptics projects but yeah, it's like none of that is really ready for the consumer yet, it seems like.
Yeah, totally. And I think with CES, not all. Well, I guess CES is literally called the Consumer Electronics Conference, but I think with SIGGRAPH more, it's like B2B. It's like business to business. So maybe it's more commercial use for some of these things than it is really to like people at home in their living room playing video games type of stuff.
Yep.
But it's interesting. Like it's good timing to be here, right? Because we just dropped 3D. We're starting to play around with a lot of sort of environmental things, and we're talking with a lot of other games and metaverses, and a lot of what's going on. It's like so like this kind of conference is way more relevant to us than I think maybe it would have been 6 months ago. So lots of really, really fun tools coming out.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to jump into cult questions. And actually, Bear, I'm glad you're here because you actually have the first cult question for the day. Bearsnake asks, why has this been such a good week? Bearsnake, can you answer that one?
I was being I was okay. Well, first of all, it has been an incredibly good start to the week. I don't know. I just feel like I was out to lunch with a friend right before I came to SIGGRAPH, and they know about the cult and everything we're doing. And I was talking about how I just feel like all of these things that we've done over the past 2 years, I think our belief has always been there's eventually going to be this sort of tipping point where a compounding effect starts to sort of multiply, right? All the things we're delivering, and maybe not everything has been like the biggest bang, but I think the longer we go and the more we ship, the more sort of base layer we're creating to have like a sound foundation. And it just feels like things are coming together, you know. It also doesn't hurt that I had like a 2 hour meeting with Derek Kolstad on Monday that just went really well. So I always just get really excited when I talk to him, and I'm like updating him on all the things that are happening in our space, and he's like freaking out. And we actually find like he actually didn't even have a crypto wallet. So me and Nalgene sat him down. We set him up. We gave him a brown hat wizard that he picked out, and I think he's going to go write some lore too. So I think we started off with that, which is really great. A lot of incoming with the 3D.
Wait, hold up. Derek Kolstad is going to write lore in the Book of Lore.
Fun.
Yeah.
Badass.
So I think that'll be really cool. So of course, like setting the week in motion, that was really fun, and we talked about sort of everything that's going on with the show. I'm not going to get into like details and teasing shit because I know people don't like it, but feeling very good. Gosh, and then the comic book stuff is starting to really move. The pre-sale starts in a couple of weeks. Now, Gene and myself have been spending a lot of time sort of making sure that's going to go smoothly. And then, you know, I don't, Elf, I feel like people don't like it when I tease stuff or like bring stuff up too early. So I'm kind of like hesitant to even, I always get like slapped in the face like 2 months later if something hasn't come to fruition. So
Yeah, dude, I do the same thing, but so don't say anything you're not comfortable with. But what I'll say, like what I've noticed that's just really great this week is like 3D has opened up a lot of new channels to different projects, different people across crypto Twitter, different builders, and what I've been loving is pretty much every single person we talk with, they say something along the lines of, "Man, you guys are the only ones who know how to build game ready assets." Every other project that sends us assets, they have no idea what they're doing. We have to like totally rebuild it from the ground up. But yours just plug right into our 3D stack, and it's awesome.
we will
So
allow you to pat yourself on the back this one time, Elf, because it's totally true.
yeah, I'm bragging right now.
No, but that's the whole point. I mean, that's like the reason it works is because you've been doing it for so long. And Frog is amazing, and Molly's amazing. Like, you know, there's expertise that some people just don't have, and that's why I think we're able to do it. Yeah. So brag away.
1000%. Yeah, and then the comic has been going really well. I had a big talk with Riley yesterday or the day before. Um, you know, and I can't believe, I've said it before, but I can't believe we've got Riley on our comic team because not only is he an amazing artist, but he's so knowledgeable on the entire comic industry. He's so knowledgeable on good storytelling, and he really cares about the book. Like he's not just someone who's just like drawing for a paycheck. Like he goes the extra mile. He gives notes on story. He asks for rewrites, and I'm just so glad we got him. He's so great.
Yeah,
He's so great.
he's and you know, with Titan, our publisher, they're just feeling very, very confident about the launch of the comic and how it's going to be received. And you know, we're baking in a lot of things. I don't know. Maybe this is alpha, or maybe I've talked about it before. But when we first sat down with them, I said, well, like I was like, give me the benchmarks for like a successful comic. And so they're like, if you sell X amount, it's this, it's good. If you sell this, you'll be like top 100. If you sell this, you'll be top 10. And of course I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do to be like top 10? And they were like, well, yeah, it would be great if you had like a video game or something. And I was like, funny enough, well, we do have a video game. We actually have multiple video games. So we're building into the comic a unique code for every physical copy that will then yield resources in the game that won't be announced until the game launches, but like it'll have like a $20-ish value. and they're just like things like that will just make it fly off the shelf. We're also like, when a comic book store buys 2 of the 3 different physical cover variants, they'll get a free issue 0 with that. So now comic book stores are even more incentivized to pre-order more because they're getting they're essentially getting a free comic to give away. So when people walk in, they're getting like a 2-for-1. So we're just trying to build in as many hooks as possible. And the reason I think it'll work is because our ethos of the project, why everybody is listening in and why everybody who sort of holds for the right reasons, like there's such a massive overlap with the traditional comic book audience for what we're doing. There's a lot of nostalgia. And so I just think it's like apples to apples. We're marketing something that really speaks volumes to people who read comic books. And then, it's like it always helps to be like, in the ad that we're running, it's like a TV show in development by Derek, the creator of John Wick, like all these things. I feel like I'm always like, what else can we put in? And then they're like, no, like you're like already over delivering on this. So I'm feeling very excited about it.
Same, bro. Same. I can't wait for the day I can walk into a physical store and see our books sitting there on the shelf. That's just such an awesome moment. Okay, we've got a bunch of other questions to get through. Let's see. Where do I want to start? Let's see. I want to give some 3D updates, so I'm going to push the 3D questions to the end. Let's start with Zenaris. Dotta, maybe you can answer this. Zenaris is asking any hints on what the third and final item is going to get. Third and final item to get on the shadow list is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the question is weirded a little weird. Zenaris asked, I guess exactly, he said, any hints on what the third and final Athenium item is to get on the shadow list? Okay, 2 corrections. One is that this third item is actually not from the Athenium collection. It's actually from the Souls collection. The third item that gets you a free shadow would be a jelly donut. Of course, how could we leave out the jelly donut? So, yeah, if you are a jelly donut holder, you will get a free shadow. So, also, it's not to get on the shadow list, you just get a free ordinal. So, this applies to all of the jelly donuts that are outstanding, as well as anyone any like new jelly donuts that are created sort of by the time we actually mint. So yeah, so you actually could have a chance at getting a new jelly donut by sending your wizard through the sacred flame and taking that risk.
And Dotta, do you just have to hold a jelly donut, or do you have to sacrifice your soul to it?
Ooh, I want to say you have to sacrifice your soul, but in reality, you just have to hold it and then give
Okay.
us an ordinal address.
There's no way we can verify the soul sacrifice on chain. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the 3 items are the Shadow Crystal, the Book of Shadows, and any of the jelly donuts. You will get a free shadow.
And in terms of the shadows, yeah, so update there. We are still okay. So we are working with an external partner who has been super great to acquire some so-called exotic sats. We don't have those sats in our possession yet, and so we can give more details of them once we do. And then we are also planning on inscribing them using some interesting mechanics. Again, we will release those once it's done. One of the cool things actually about ordinals is that you will be able to see the entire Shadows collection before the so-called mint, right? The terminology is a little bit different on ordinals because what you do is typically on Ethereum is when we hold a mint, you pay and then maybe you get revealed right then or revealed after. Typically, you're revealed after you pay, either immediately or a few days in the future. In ordinals, the typical process is actually reversed, where the entire collection will be both inscribed and revealed. So you'll be able to see all of the shadows there. And then after you've kind of seen the collection, you'll be able to decide if you want to mint one and find out which one you get. So, in terms of timelines for the Shadows mint, I don't think that we're in any particular rush. I feel bad for the folks who are entitled to the free ones, but we're not in any particular rush in terms of when we're going to do that mint. So it's sort of outstanding now. First, we have to get them all inscribed first, and so that's the next step in the process.
Yeah, Dotta, so you mentioned we are inscribing these on rare sats. For anyone who doesn't know, can you briefly describe what a rare sat is?
Yeah, sure. So what I actually said is that we're inscribing these on exotic sats, which is a little bit different. It's maybe like a superset of rare sats. By exotic sats, I just mean that they are individual satoshis that have a property that is like somewhat interesting. So typically, when people talk about rare sats, they're using this system called like the rod armor rarity system, and the idea with Bitcoin is that when a new Bitcoin is, well, let me roll back. Bitcoin itself, when a new block is mined, the new Bitcoin are issued. Actually, when you spend your Bitcoin, it's actually like you earned like a physical bill, right? Like a $1 bill. And then if I give you 50 cents, it's almost as if I tore that $1 bill in half and I gave you half the bill and I kept half the bill. And one of the things that happens on the Bitcoin blockchain is this continual sort of ripping bills in half and then taping bills back together. And so that's kind of why we're able to even have um, sats, individual sats that even have properties. Um, in some sense, individual satoshis on Bitcoin are actually non fungible. Ironically enough. So some of the sats that end up being rare would be, the any sat from the Genesis block, the first sat of any new block. I guess those are considered like uncommon. The first sat from like a halvening block, for example. So these would just be these little attributes around like when the transaction happened for that Bitcoin that assign, let's say, some sort of sentimental value to people who like to collect these. You can decide if that's something that you care about or not, but it really is like a nice touch on top of the artwork. So all that to say, I'm not saying that the shadows will be inscribed on rare sats or uncommon sats or anything like that. Um, but the sats that we're considering are exotic and a little bit difficult to get. And so we'll share more about those details as we get closer. Or well, actually, I'll share the details the second they're inscribed, honestly.
Yep. Very cool. Okay, there's a lot of questions pouring in through the secret tower, so let me just try to hit these. Juan Snow is asking, outside of 3D models, what's the next major thing to get shipped, and is there a timeline?
We're not falling for that.
Yeah, yeah. I
Nice
don't know
try,
about.
Juan Snow.
I'm gonna Kevin Rose you. I'm tired of building in public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Juan Snow, we know you're the one that's going to come after us, so how dare you?
No, but it's a good question because we've been talking about this a lot internally. We've got like a handful of things that we're just sort of I guess planning out which one we want to focus on next. I don't know if we want to say much more than that. What do you guys think?
I don't. So okay, so we have in the pipeline the shadows. That said, there's no rush to get those out, right? The shadow hats age like fine wine. The older that they are, the more valuable they are. So those are like going to be on chain soon. Whether or not we do a mint is anyone's guess. We have Goblin Town. We are doing an internal playable of Goblin Town this week. We're meeting with everyone who's been working on that is getting together, and we're going to have this internal Magic Machine competition where we all try to get to the top of the leaderboard. Really, kind of the plan there is that Magic Machine will play it, we'll make any serious changes, we'll get everything polished up in terms of tutorials, and then we'll have a mint when that's ready. What date will that be? I'm not sure. Really, we have to play it internally and feel how close we feel it is in terms of like bugs and all that. So the Shadows, we have Goblin Town, and then of course we have the Runiverse game. So the Runiverse game is like just still under development. I met with our sort of the co-founder of Bisonic Geldor for like an hour this week, in addition to our like regular meetings with them. And that game is coming along. There, I actually don't know what they've announced really, but well, there are some plans for some things where there might be an opportunity for people to play within the next few months. Um, and so the art for that game is looking so beautiful. It has so much potential in terms of like everything that's being built there around the battle system and the crafting and exploring the world. So, yeah, getting the Runeverse game out. On top of all those things, we have other projects that we want to do, but I think we want to wait until we're a bit closer to actually shipping them before we announce them. Because, for example, like, well, it's a dynamic environment, right? Like, we don't really want to announce it, and then it ends up like taking way too long, or that we change our mind and how it implements or whatever. So, but you should know that we for sure are not slowing down. We still have everybody, grinding to kind of get these experiences out.
Yeah. It's also a fun time, right? Because I think 3D was a big push, right? And it was a really long. It was a really. I think it's a perfect example of like why it's important to take your time and do it right, because then it hits, And I think that 3D is really just delivering those models. Now I think I said it last week. My job is now just starting with 3D. Right now, it's like we have all of these models, and part of the reason this week's been so amazing is because there's so much incoming and opportunity from a business standpoint that was unlocked by releasing those, that it's going to yield. And so I bring that up because sure, the Runiverse game, we could push something out and maybe it's not right, but like I think we're all here for the long run, and you only have one shot to make a first impression. And so we're going to do it right. And so being patient, I think, has really paid off for us so far. And I don't think we're going to stop that strategy. But I guess my initial point is that we ship 3D. Shadows essentially are done in terms of like the legwork, more or less. And so now we find ourselves in this place where we've had a lot of ideas of things that we wanted to do, I feel like, and now there's some freedom to attack those things and prioritize the ones that we really want to do. So I'm excited to finally be at this point where we feel like we can like bite our teeth into something.
Yeah, and I think that like it's a weird time for NFT projects in the moment because it's like you can't do a mint. Like it's just the market isn't there. There's nothing there's no like appetite for a mint right now, which also means you really can't even do a meaningful airdrop, right? One of the things that kind of like projects like to do, ourselves included, is kind of airdrop tokens to holders because it's this way that you have something to use, something to do, maybe something to sell if you decide. And like in this market to airdrop something, really everyone's just kind of, it just doesn't like take or have kind of the effect that you want. So within that context, we are thinking about like, well, what are things that we can do to kind of strengthen our core mission, that can strengthen our core community, things that we like want to do for fun and for strengthening tokenomics, and like well, those are some of the other things that we're working on. I mean, on top of the other projects that we're working on.
Yeah, I do think a lot of the stuff that we're talking about points in the direction of this idea of like a constellation of experiences or games that you'll be able to switch in between, right? I think we really like this idea. Like every Halloween, we've done something really fun. TBD on whether we do something this Halloween very big or not, but this idea of like experiences where people can come in within the community, without the community, or from outside the community, and taking all of the things that we've built and how do we plug them into things that people can just spend their time doing.
Yeah,
So
I don't mind talking about some of the constraints that we're thinking about, which is
yeah,
something
do it.
like okay, we've got tokens in lots of different ways, right? We've got, of course, the character tokens. Oh, Matto, go ahead. Hi, I just see that you have your hand.
Oh yeah, I was gonna give a quick update based on like because we briefly went over the Runiverse game, and I think like
Please.
it works into what you guys are saying. Like the Runiverse game, we have like we're doing like a lot of like internal like build testing stuff right now, and like we're getting a lot of feedback from that internal testing. So like there's a lot of like points that like we feel like, hey, it's great, but like after internal like feedback, we may want to polish it out a bit more before we push it out. for like for like a more general open testing, because especially like we said, like in these market conditions, we want to make sure that like when we come out with something, we come out with something that really lands rather than something that's kind of like oh yeah, like it works well, but it needs a lot of work. Like, we know that it needs a lot of work because like it's still so early in development, but we don't want like kind of like the wider audience kind of like feel like when we open up wider for test, like oh okay, like there's like so much that needs to be done for this, and it kind of like has like a lackluster response. So like we're taking a lot of internal feedback, polishing it up a bit more, and we want to make sure like when it gets out, it feels a lot more impactful. And that's like especially with, like you said, within these market conditions, it's just better to just get it right rather than just kind of like rush it out. And it comes out and like people already don't really have eyes on stuff right now, so it's gonna have get less attention. So that being said, we still have like our I mentioned before, we have our trailers that are in the work. We have a lot of great artwork for that. I've kind of shown that off to some people here or there. We have some community wizards that I actually got the team at Biosonic to help push into some of those artwork. So I'm really excited to have that shown out to the cult. But yeah, I think these coming few months, we're gonna have like more of a gradual marketing push into the game. But as like I said, like when we're getting that feedback in, we'll push that game out when we feel like we'll push it out for testing, more open testing, when we feel like it's more ready for that area. Expected it to be a little bit earlier, but like I said, we got some more feedback, and we want to make sure that's right when it comes out.
Cool. Yeah.
But it's really exciting though. Really exciting.
It's so exciting. It's going to be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, one of the other things that I don't mind sharing is around just how we're thinking about the next things that we build, right? Particularly around like tokenomics. Some of the ideas that are in my mind, which is we have tokens in a lot of different ways, right? So we have the characters. We've got the wizards, the warriors, the souls. We have the beast spawn. We have the Athenaeum items. We've got
Ponies.
Ponies. We've got the beasts. And really what we're looking to do is to start building pieces that like tie them together, right? We have a lot of the times we've several times we've done events that are like based on holidays. So let's say Christmas with Gigas Chat or Halloween at the Nightmare Imp. And while we love doing those kinds of like one-off thematic events, I think that like one of the things that I feel is that we'll spend 2-3 months building an experience that only happens over the course of a few days. Really what I would love to do is focus more on things that are like, well, for example, the Sacred Flame, which is this like ongoing continuous process. So I think those would be something that we want to look out for. And then I think that like Jitsi said something to me the other day, which was that about how he felt that kind of Forgotten Runes and these like the Forgotten Runes, this kind of like live, ongoing, on-chain RPG. Like in one sense, the Runeverse game is like an RPG. It's like an MMORPG that will have on-chain components. But in another sense, like the community itself and the tokens that we have is itself an RPG, and that the Sacred Flame was this like historic event for our community, and it's still ongoing. And so those are the sorts of things that I think really like our team have been thinking a lot about, which is how do we create these like historic Runiverse events that can be used on an ongoing basis that involve the tokens from all of the collections and involve tokenomics. So and that like really grow like the lore and the interactivity of the lore of the story, the interactivity, and like the community bonds, right? So these are all sort of like when we look at the checklist of the thing we want to build, we wanted to check all those boxes. So how long will it be before we ship those? We're not going to like give a deadline, but that's what we're looking at doing.
Jay Mander is asking a question that seems to sort of segue into this. He says, seems like in the long run, the best projects will not only provide creative assets, but also make custom tooling as well. And yeah, I mean, I think that sort of touches on what you're talking about, Dotta. I can say that, like, as far as 3D is concerned, I've seen a lot of people in the Secret Tower talking about modding their assets. I've also received DMs from people just asking for little changes on their 3D model, like they want a certain color to just be adjusted. Um, some of you guys have like very notable characteristics, like Magus Devon has mushrooms on her hat. And so I think we're there, we're definitely thinking a lot about creating tooling and services and ways to make these customizations. um I don't have anything definitive yet. I
Yeah.
will.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you have like a mod that you would like to see on your character, just DM me with it. I'm not saying we can honor all of these requests, but some of them are pretty easy that I think we can, like just color tweaks. So yeah, and so we're keeping track of all of this on a spreadsheet, and we'll decide how we roll these things out later. But yeah, go ahead, Dota.
Yeah, so Jay Mander said it seems like in the long run the best product not only provide creative assets but making custom tooling as well. And so, I think that to me, I think that like the main mission of Magic Machine is around um, actually creating like tooling and infrastructure. And when we create like lore and when we create games and we create experiences, I feel like we're paving the path and we're bootstrapping the system. We're showing what is possible, but I don't think that like the long term success of like Forgotten Rune succeeds when it's something that people build on because of the IP and the tooling, rather than just like, oh, Magic Machine does like a Halloween event every year, for example. So that's why I think, well, for example, the 3D models were so important because it's this creative primitive that allows other people to build on. I think some of the other tools that I've talked about that I really to build or have built. I mean, the one that I want to build the most right now that I don't know that I have time to is just around the world. Like, well, again, we'll have the Bisonic Runiverse MMORPG, but I think that there's this idea around like the Book of Maps and sort of like playable lore that has a more like artistic interpretation of the world, and this idea that we might be able to have like maps that are shareable, that are like a protocol people can build on top of in the same way that you can build on top of the 3D models, I think is like something that I really want to explore when we like get a second to take our breath, right? And so I think, I guess I agree with what you're saying, which is that like we should not only build just like the characters and the ponies and whatever, but we should also build tools for telling lore, tools for building experiences. I would just 100% believe in this idea of building tools. It's something that I really want to do.
Yep. Yep. Um, okay, slightly different direction. Oh wait, actually, before I get off of 3D, SPZ and then J of the Sun, they're asking when 3D Souls, Warriors, and Familiars. So yeah, I mean the 3D Souls, the models are totally done. Now they just need textured and rigged. I would say they're halfway done with being textured. So they just need rigged. I actually started modeling the beasts yesterday. Um, they are gorgeous. The 3D beasts, the legendary beasts, they are going to be a premium, unique, beautiful character rig. I can't wait to see them running around in any given metaverse. And then 3D familiars, that's probably lower on the 3D priority list. Even though it's something that I desperately want to do. I mean, who doesn't want a little 3D fox or monkey running around? It's uh, it's it's probably going to be a while until we get those done. But yeah, the desire is definitely there. I mean, I really want to do ponies as well. Just
The
there's
problem
so
with
many.
Yeah, and the problem with animals is that like they all have their own skeleton and their own gait and their own
Yep.
it's an entire set of animations
Yep.
per creature.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the beauty of a humanoid character like a wizard is that you can animate one walk cycle and populate it across all 10,000 characters. But like a monkey and a wolf have different anatomy, different skeletons. They can't share animation. So yeah, it's a bit tricky to do those, but it's totally possible.
What if I want my monkey to be slithering like a snake? Have you thought of that?
Yeah, we could do that, I guess.
How many familiars are there in the wizard collection? Are there like 40 or something? 30 or 40, right?
Well, with regards to animations or unique, because there's different types of frogs, different types of cats.
Right. I was just trying to get a sense, like Elf. You should just knock it out and have it deliver them next week, I think.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay. Actually, Bear, here's a question for you from Spack the Watcher Wizard. Can you tell us a bit about how Yuga Labs approached you for Legends of the Mara, and what happens when Yuga Labs asks you for something?
Typically, I think you're probably supposed to just say yes to whatever.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We're not total pushovers. What was the process? I think. Hey, listen. To flex a little bit, we are really well respected by most of the founders in the space who are actual builders. So I think every time we get on a call or I get on a call with a team, another project, most of the time, I would say 85% of the time, they already have wizards. They love what we're doing. They're contacting us because they either just wanted to meet and talk because we're like-minded, or because they want to sort of understand how we did something, or because they want to partner on something. And so with the Legends of the Mara, there's a lot of sort of connectivity in terms of the core team over at Yuga. Obviously, they now control and run 10KTF. We have sort of a long-standing relationship with them. So I think they just have, just like we have a lot of respect for them, I think they are just big fans of what we're doing. And so we take it as a badge of honor that, they reached out. And I mean, how many, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of NFT projects are there? And sure, they reached out and asked us to be a part of something, of under 10 projects. I thought it was really awesome. And, me, Elf, Dotta, and the team, walked through what the proposal was, and they made it quite easy for us to say yes. It wasn't like they were like, hey, do you want to be in this thing? But you have to do all these other, there are all these sort of boxes you need to check. And so they made it quite easy for us to say yes. And, we're just continually impressed with how much they're shipping. Obviously, they have a lot more money than us and a bigger team. But I think, they just ship regularly, and they're holding the bar, and we want to support anyone who's trying to do real work here. So the process is they reached out and they told us what they wanted to do, and we discussed, and we thought it was a good idea, and we did it.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed all of our interactions with the folks at Yuga. It goes without saying that they're really good, and they take a lot of heat just because they have the biggest target on their back, but they're all really good, talented people, and I've enjoyed our interactions.
Yeah, and there's a lot more. I would say maybe Legends of the Mara, you could think about that as the tip of the iceberg, maybe in some ways. So just keep a lookout for some more things.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the first interaction we had with Yuga was just a random tweet by Garga, just saying "I love Forgotten Runes," basically, and we were like, "What the hell?" We didn't even know he knew who we were. Was that the first time?
Yeah. I had just sat down with my son to see. I don't even know what movie it was. Literally, just sat in the seat, and one of you guys, or I saw it, or one of us saw it, and it was like, holy shit! All right. And then we were trying to decide what to write back. But yeah, it was. I think Garga had his tweet was something like, I feel like if I have one regret, I'm gonna mess it up. But it was more or less, like if I had one regret, it would be not like engaging and interacting with more projects in other communities. And he was like, first and foremost, Forgotten Ruins. So I thought that was really nice, and that kind of like kicked off our relationship, I would say.
Yeah, he had his tweet when he was like, I want to be able to tweet about the other projects that I like. So I'm going to use this thread to talk about the other projects that I like. And then the next tweet was, I like Forgotten Ruins. And then that was the end of the tweet thread.
Yeah. Forgotten Runes. That's
Yeah.
the tweet.
And then
Yeah.
Elf, and then me and you went to that party in Miami, and we got to meet him.
Yep.
We got to meet Connor.
Yep.
And they were super cool. And
Yep.
I think, it was kind of nice because we were ready to talk about apes and they were ready to talk about wizards, and so
Yeah.
it was kind of neat.
Yeah. Very cool. SPAC actually has another question about another project. I'm going to give this one to you, Dotta, because I don't know the answer. Does Forgotten Runes ever look at what's happening at Loot? And he says they've made some impressive advances with StarkNet. Dotta, you know Loot, right?
Yeah. I like loot. I still hold my divine robes. And I think that they are great. So okay, so I love what the Loot Project is doing, but even saying it like that is a bit of a misnomer, right? Because it's not like there's one person who is, in charge of Loot because it is so decentralized. There is, of course, that guy Tim, who heads up a bunch of like the projects, but uh, I like Loot. I have all sorts of derivatives, right? Loot explorers and maps and a bunch of things. I haven't played what they're doing on Starknet. That sounds fun. I think Starknet is great. Starknet was where I wanted to put the Runiverse game originally, and it like wasn't quite ready. I think if Starknet can kind of get past the inflection point, it stands to be a really good contender versus ETH. If they can like decentralize, I think Starknet will sort of change everyone's perceptions of what blockchains are capable of. It's very, very, very good in terms of technology. I want to say I haven't seen what they're doing on Stark. I haven't played the game most recently. Um, one of the things that I think that the Loot Project struggles with is some sort of like centralized cohesion, because what they basically do is they're like, well, it's decentralized. Anyone can add anything that they want, but then it didn't take them very long to realize that that was too much freedom. And there's even been movements within the Loot community to kind of like create a central narrative, or at least to like agree on a central narrative. And so, you know, um, you kind of have to like tame infinite potential before you can like get a group of people to come together and like build on top of it. So I really like Loot, and so I definitely have thought about trying to make Forgotten Runes like Loot that could work, because it has these central themes, these central characters, the central world that you can like then hitch your wagon to. So but no, I need to check out the most recent game.
Also, real fast, shout out to Dom and the team on Blipmap, because they have a comic book that's also coming out that looks so freaking sick. So I highly recommend checking out that comic book. I actually think you can pre-order, and it turns out they are using Titan as well. And so, yeah, just shout out. I think I'm just such a fan of what they're doing over at SUP. It's really, really good people. Very smart.
Is Loot the project that like the NFT was just a block of text that told you what was in your like loot bag or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember now. Yeah. For my part, I'll say that it was partially an inspiration for me to do the Athenium items. I mean, it was that, but then also just like remembering playing RPGs when I was a kid. Like, I loved having an inventory of items. That was always just such a staple of a good RPG. And then Loot came out with their project, and it just sort of reinforced this desire to have just like fun items in your ecosystem. So I don't know. That's sort of what I really liked about Loot. I thought that was pretty fun.
Also, didn't Dom give you a rose, Dotta?
Yeah, he did.
What was that? Are you
I don't
guys in
know.
love?
I'm just in the cool kids club. Um.
I didn't get a rose. Damn it.
So,
You're not in the cool
okay.
kids
Since
club there.
what you
No
brought up,
shit.
that was how I even got loot in the first place. Is that chat with like Dom, and he was like, "Oh, hey, I did this thing. I don't know what it is," and I saw it, and it was just like text on black, and I was like, "This is dumb." But I guess I'll like mint like one, and I minted like three, and I tried to mint another one. You can see it on chain, but like the way that the mint process worked was like you had to pick a number of one that wasn't minted already. Do you remember that? Um, and so like I had like another transaction or two that just failed, and I was just like, oh, whatever, nobody cares.
I hope Dom is listening because he gave you a rose. I always thought it was cool if you're listening, Dom.
Um, but then once you know, then once you like get into it and you see them, I don't know. It will always be in the NFT history books, I think.
I have a different topic, real fast.
Yeah, go
Well,
for it.
one more thing on that is somebody made wizard spells. Who has the wizard spells uh link?
Yeah.
Drop it in the chat.
Yeah, I actually was gonna update my lore if that yesterday when I was updating my lore, but I decided I think I'm gonna put it like on its own page or something. But yeah, I actually post it.
Perfect.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Somebody did like wizard spells, which is like a loot derivative of
I
spells
see.
for
Yeah,
wizards.
it's a
Like
I
yeah.
see.
Every wizard has a spell associated with them. I'm pretty sure there's still wizards that have unclaimed spells because like it wasn't really that like it was kind of like low key, but like every wizard, I'll try to find a link for it and post it in Secret Tower. If you have a claimable wizard, you can claim a spell. It's completely free. It just costs gas, and gas is kind of cheap lately, so you can probably find a good like window to mint it. And you just got like it's like a randomized spell, and then there's even a site that I think Oz built along with I forgot who else. I know Oz built it. I think Niski worked on a contract too with somebody else, and TV, I think. But yeah, anyway, so there's even a site that generates like an AI image, pixelated image of what that spell is. So like you have like the spell text, and then you have like attributes for the spell. It's like three different attributes for like if it's close range or something, and then like an image you go with it. It's pretty cool. I'll post a picture of it and maybe get more excitement on it.
yeah, I know I minted some, but I like can't find them now in my OpenSea right now. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
don't have
think I think it's
all your
hidden.
anon wallets, Dotta.
I don't I don't have any plans to use these spells in a game, but maybe someone should.
Yeah, I remember those. Those were super fun.
Does someone have the
Um,
link? Oh yeah, there we go. Thank
They
you,
posted
Chittapop.
it.
Great.
All
Perfect.
right, I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to the Game Changers team. I'm not sure if people were following the cult, but you know, we just ended season 1 of this Web3 gaming focused weekly Twitter Spaces called Game Changers. Shout out to Bridge from the cult who came in and really helped sort of lead production on it. And I thought it was first of all, it was really fun. Co-hosted it with Board Elon, who's a great co-host. And just wanted to give a shout out to Bridge. Wanted to give a shout out to Locke and to Jitsi, to Nalgene for helping it run so smoothly. I think one of the things that we wanted to do at the top of the year was try to produce more spaces that maybe weren't just Forgotten Runes centric, but was related to Forgotten Runes. And I thought it was a success. I mean, we had some spaces over 1,000 people. Our last show yesterday had, I think, concurrent around like 300 and almost 1,000 people total. And I really enjoyed it. I think we had we set a really high bar for the types of projects that came in and spoke. And we I think we we had some good shows, and so we're going to come back with it. But I was really happy with it, and I'm excited to pick it up after some time and do some more bookings. So thanks, everybody.
yeah, 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 that show is awesome, Bear. The last one had like about 1,000 listeners, I think, right?
Yeah, there were a bunch of people in there, and honestly, it's like it's so funny. You do things like that, and all of a sudden, these happy accidents start happening because you're just busy connecting and networking, and a lot of things have come out, like just business opportunities have come out from booking these other gaming companies and bringing them on. So it's actually yielded like proper business from it. So that's the other advantage of it, and I think it also it helps shine a light on what we're doing. Always trying to weave in the thread of the Runiverse game and Goblin Town and just gaming in general, and Jitsi would come up and sort of smack anybody around if they got something wrong about gaming and get passionate. So yeah, it was really fun.
Looking forward to season 2. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to come back to this spells thing. I'm looking at the website that Bill Gaines shared. Man, I am getting hit by serious nostalgia looking at this thing. I had totally forgotten about it. The art is so awesome. And I'm looking at the credits below. It says crafted by Oz and Aaron Air, and then contract by TV, Niski, and Aaron Air. And this is like before we hired Niski, right? Like when Niski and others were just making fun stuff for the project. Um, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah. It's like we need to build infrastructure. Like, it's like I want to figure out how to foster it, right? It seems like we need something like a game or something for that can use these. I don't know. I mean, we'll have the Runiverse game, but it's going to be hard to like link these spells to the Runiverse game.
yeah, yeah. And Matto, you shared this tweet, or anyone who knows that, like, there's an illustration of the spell on the page, and I want to say that these were AI generated, but were AI tools even
Yeah,
very
they are.
advanced at that time?
Yeah. They were AI generated, but it was like with a GAN, so it was like a different. It's way different than like what we use like now for like
Right.
stable diffusion and stuff. But it was generated with like a GAN, and it was like it's actually interesting because it was able to actually do pixel art before like we still have like issues of stable diffusion and stuff doing pixel art really well. And
Right.
like it's really funny that like, this GAN was able to actually do pretty good pixel art. I know before this there was also like there was like some like GAN punk collection that was also
Uh-huh.
similar.
Yep.
Yeah, so there was already people that were playing around with AI tools back then. It's just that they weren't as complex, but they were able to produce stuff like this. So I think that it fed like your spell name into the AI and it generated an image based off of what that name was. So it was a bit primitive for what we have now, which sounds funny because it wasn't even that long ago. But it's interesting to see like the advancement.
Well, it's so funny because like I'm looking at this image and it's just gorgeous, and I know it's only like a year ago or something, but like I'm already seeing a major difference between old AI art and new AI art and like AI art that's only a year ago just feels so nostalgic. I don't know, maybe that's
The
ridiculous, but
first claims for these spells was 700 days ago.
Wow, that was so long. I feel old now.
700 days ago, that's like 2 years
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, beautiful project to all who were involved in it. And this is actually a good segue into a question I saw. Okay, from Jay Mander. Thoughts on leaning on the community to snowball things for nice to haves, like when the team doesn't have time. I guess Jay Mander's basically asking like when is it better to lean on the community to build a project, and when should we just let Magic Machine do it? Examples like 3D Hangout maps, battle maps, asset packs. Um, and I guess I guess just like all the cult led projects.
Yeah, there's some noise in the secret tower that maybe when we were talking about the wizard spells that we were reminiscing for the good old days when people built on the project, which of course is not true because there's so many new projects these days.
Yeah, people are still building for sure. I think, Jay Mender, one way I would answer this is it's like it's one thing we're finding as time goes by is that it is kind of difficult to incorporate cult projects into Magic Machine official projects because we've already devoted our bandwidth to its max capacity with the things that we're working on. And so it's really difficult. Like if a cult member says, I've got this thing, I brought it to 70%, here you go, finish the last 30. And, and we're just like, damn it, this is beautiful, but we just can't because we already have so many things on our plate. Um,
But I think that's the role of the DAO in some degree, right? Because, well, when it comes to software, software is just hard. And it's not even about money, though money is a big part. To do something like this, it's expensive because it takes people who are like talented, and you need artists, programmers, and like someone with a good design sense to actually build a product, which we've seen people do, right? We've seen it with Black Sands, we've seen it with Runes TCG, right? People are able to do it. um, but I think that like hopefully with the DAO, it'll provide a bit of funding, seed funding for people who want to work on those kinds of ideas.
Yeah, so okay, so Jmander is amending, or maybe I think I misinterpreted his question. He's saying not necessarily incorporate, but just how should Magic Machine incentivize building on top of the project? I think there's tons of ways to do it. It's sort of the same thing we've talked about since day one, which is like number one, you own the token that you're building for, you own the character you're building for. So, that's a very strong incentive, I think, to build for what you own. Number two, that there's things like binary star and other ways that we're hoping to distribute revenue and royalties. In an SEC compliant way. um, but yeah, I mean, this is sort of an ongoing conversation, I guess. I don't know if you have anything to say to that, Doda.
Yeah, I think it's hard to generalize, right? It has to be a case by case basis. So the way that I think about it for us right now is we're just booting it up, and so it's like we're creating 2D sprite sheets that you can use. Like first we create the characters, then the 2D sprite sheets, then the 3D characters, and like we've got locations in the map, and we've got Wikipedia and the Lorcle and all these resources for like about the world. And I think that's kind of the phase that we're in, is around like building the structure for the world. And we've created these tokens that even we're still working to kind of tie together. So I think that really, if you're a builder and you want to build something that kind of gets integrated in a tight way, well, talk about it, talk to us, because I think we're like totally willing. But it comes, there's all these different all these different, there's just so many, right? Like every project is unique, so it just depends. Well, I think maybe, do you want to talk a little bit about like modding? I don't
Yeah,
think we even
I
talked
touched.
about 3D yet. Yeah.
Well, I touched on modding a little bit earlier. I've been getting DMs from people just asking for subtle changes. I'm keeping track of all of them in a spreadsheet. If you have not DM'd me, but you want to see a change on your character, just let me know and I'll put it in the spreadsheet. We're still trying to solve on how to like deploy all these changes. It's definitely possible. We're just trying to figure out the best way to do it. If you want something beyond a simple color change, like you want to add like a mushroom to your hat, or you want the beard longer. I don't know. I would encourage you to either like A, learn how to do it yourself, or B, like lean on some of the more 3D savvy people in the cult to help you with that. Either request or pay them to do it. Frog Eater had a really fun demo session the other day, and I think he's going to do more of those. So stay tuned to those. You can also DM Frog. He's a really good 3D resource to lean on. But yeah, I mean, modding is definitely like, I would love to see a really strong cottage industry of modding just pop up in the cult. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about it, but I highly encourage modding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one of the things. Oh, go ahead, Meadow.
I was gonna say I was gonna give a shout out to Small Protect earlier and the Secret Tower, how he took it upon himself to mod his character that he put like the like his he made the outfit black and he made like her hair red. And like he just did that by taking like the textures and just kind of like recoloring and then rethrowing it back in, I think. So I thought that was really cool and kind of like shows like the first steps of people taking their 3D models and customizing them in ways that I think that's pretty accessible. Just kind of like if you're doing like recolors, if you
Yep.
know how to like work like Photoshop, just kind of like re-import them in. But
Yep.
yeah, I think it's really cool seeing that people are starting to do that.
For sure. Yep.
I also have to say, like, in terms of how, like, building and just how to contribute. Some of the sorry, there's like a helicopter flying over me. Some of the easiest things you can do is just be active and be talking about Forgotten Runes publicly. I know a lot of people do this pretty well, but I think it's power. It's power in numbers, and I think actually seeing some really fun new people coming into the cult. But I mean, if it were up to me, start drama. I mean, I'm not saying start fights, but like, I think a lot of projects, a lot of other communities really come out in numbers when something is released. And I thought 3D, like the cult, just came in so strong with the 3D. But I think just being constant with talking about what we're doing, when people are talking about like what project should we get into, I think part of it maybe is annoying being a reply guy, but I think that's how a lot of this space works, is just being in people's faces. And I know that the cult would do it in a non-obnoxious way, but the more we're talking about what we're doing, the better I think we're gonna be proliferating.
One thing about 3D that I meant to say at the top and I totally forgot. If you look on the 3D website right now, we've added some new things. You can now see your wizard say GM. You can see them dance, and you can see them walk. So yeah, we added some new animation to the site, and I wouldn't be surprised if we add even more in the future.
And we also added like glamour shots for that in the preview cards, so you can see when I shared in the Secret Tower that you actually get a little thumbnail which shows your individual wizard's face. I don't know where the URL to that image is. Maybe was you if you're listening, you could share that because I think those images are so fun.
Well, Dotta, I think all you have to do is just on the top of the 3D page, just type in your wizard number, have it displayed, and then just copy paste the URL.
That's great. I can see it in Discord, but I want like a full size of the image. Oh, I guess I can click on it maybe. Ooh, I can click on it.
Yeah. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, Bear, speaking of getting in people's face, I just want to quickly go over a little gripe that I had all like last year.
With
and
me or with someone else?
with NFTs in general, the entire community.
Oh.
So like, remember like last year when like metaverse was a very hyped up term. And
I know what you're gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah. And so like all these
Wait,
projects.
let me date this for you. Actually,
Okay.
let's rewind our brains
Yeah.
to June 2022.
Yeah.
We're in New York City. Go.
Yeah, yeah. We're in New York City, and Clone X had just came out, and man, it looked awesome, and it was associated with Takashi Murakami, big time artist. I even went to the exhibition and just thought they were beautiful, fully rendered 3D characters, and the posters all around New York said "Metaverse Ready 3D Models NFT Project," blah blah blah. And I remember thinking, there's no effing way these things are metaverse ready. Those are high res CG assets that are built for beautiful renders, but you're not going to be able to put those in a game engine, guaranteed.
I remember you said that to me because I just posted a picture of the Secret Tower I was like, what a great poster! Like metaverse ready, just sounds so good. That's so cool. And you went on this whole rant about how it's not true. I'm like, yeah, right, Elf. You don't even know what you're talking about. Shut up.
No, exactly. That's exactly right. And because I remember it wasn't only Clone X, it was a bunch of others like fucking Mechaverse, and it was like a dozen, and they were all saying this, and they were posting these high res renders, and I remember telling you guys this is bullshit, and I don't think you guys even believed me, and I just felt
I
like
never believe you, dude. I
I know
disagree with you.
I know even when I turn out to be right, like right at this moment, you still don't believe me.
No, you're wrong.
But no, and I just felt so gaslit the entire time because I'm like trying to show you guys like actually how to build 3D models for a game engine, and I got this like feeling like yeah, but those don't look like the Clone X models, and so anyway, long story short, it's like then this someone from what's the project?
Oh, you're talking about the tweet that just went out that just got it basically went viral about how
Yeah.
pissed they were about Clone X models. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, I RT'd that, and it's just like I knew this would happen. You cannot use these high res models in the metaverse or any game engine, and it's just like I knew I was right all along. So it feels good to be finally vindicated a year later.
Well, don't put me and Dotta against you. We weren't fighting you. We were just like I mean, I didn't know, but it didn't matter because the point is, it's really easy to say things, and it was very easy to get away with saying things that were incorrect at that time. People just wanted to believe, and
Yep.
so again, this is like we're in the middle of the bear, whatever market kind of market you want to call it. But I more than ever, and I was talking about before, and I don't want to yap too long about it. But it's like the more that we just keep doing what we're doing, the more people just keep coming, keep finding us, keep coming to us, whether they join the cult or not. There's just this, people are recognizing like, okay, there's one thing to like say you're making a game, say you're making a comic, say you're developing a TV show, say you're doing all these things. And there's another thing to like actually know how to fucking get it done.
Exactly.
And then there's also like, how do you even know how to run a company? Like sure, okay, cool. Like you made like there's projects that have made literally 20 times more money than us, and they're literally broke. They have nothing.
No, dude.
And it's just like it may be a long time to like get the full vindication, but
Yeah.
like it's gonna fucking happen. And I'm sorry I'm cursing, but I get all worked up. But we're gonna win.
No, dog, exactly. Like my little road to vindication with the 3D models, we're gonna start seeing that repeated over and over with so many other things.
Let's just say Bear's got a motherfucking list.
Yeah.
I got a long memory.
A hit list, no less.
You saw how quickly I posted that metaverse ready photo in the secret tower.
Yeah.
I got a file.
Yeah.
Like Arya Stark,
Yeah.
reading the names of those who wronged you.
Bear every night says Frank the Gods,
Yeah.
Luke and Nets.
Don't put no down now. Don't put words in my mouth. I will never. No one will ever know who's on the list. That's the power. That's the power of my list. It's a secret list.
So you got a shout out too by Jay of the Sun, who noticed. I love how they made 3D models to the wizards that were only one of one, and they were burned. So yes, we go the distance to deal with the details. That's for sure.
Damn right. Okay, we're almost out of time. I've got two other things that I want to do. I also want to give Bored Elon a shout out for another tweet that I had a strong reaction to, but this one was positive. So Bored Elon, our good friend, he said, there's a reason that adult coloring books became so popular. People want to be creative and put their unique stamp on things, but most of us don't have the skills to overcome the obstacle of a blank canvas. Creators who give their fans lines to color in reap powerful network effects. And man, that has Forgotten Runes written all over it. I've been a lifelong creative, and I know that just starting with a blank canvas is even hard for any artist, let alone a quote non-creative person. And so, if Forgotten Runes does anything, it sort of gives you that coloring book page. It gives you something to work with, so you don't just have a blank canvas. And and we've seen it work. We've seen it work over 2 years. Like, you give people a character, and that's just such a strong starting point to start creating. Um, and yeah, I mean, adult coloring books are a huge industry. So I think Forgotten Runes is in good company with adult coloring books. Um, uh,
Speaking of creation, we should go over the Cult Content Chronicle.
well, so yeah, we can do that. I also have a piece of lore from Adept Igduil that I was going to play.
Let's do it after the Cult Content. What do you think? Close with that?
Yep, sounds good.
Let's do
Sounds good
cult
to me.
content, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, also, real fast, I had the pleasure of hand delivering Tanya's custom varsity jacket last week, and damn, did she look good in it. So, Tanya, thank you so much for ordering it. I'm so happy you went with your honorary warrior instead of wizard. Very cool, and it looks great. And now we will listen to the cult content.
No, I just want to second you, Bear. It's taken me a while to warm up to those letter jackets, but it took a Tanya Del Rio to wear it to make me suddenly realize, you know what, these jackets are dope.
Yeah, don't worry, you're not allowed to have one. I'm not making one for you.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So let's see. We are in week 29 of the Cult Content Chronicle, compiled by the illustrious Tanya Del Rio. And so yeah, let's go over them. Let's see. We've got the first entry from Markafine. It looks like Markafine commissioned Daniela Illustra to make a really beautiful piece of his warrior. And then Daniela also posted a really fun process video. It looks like she's drawing a Felis wizard. My favorite warrior, Joan Danger of Riffraff, the warrior with a shield, did a really fun commission from Nest Virgo. Why Sam the Viper did a really fun piece based on a kobold. Not only did he post the beautiful piece, but he also posted a process video of how he drew it. One of my favorite pieces from this week, Ozma Bro, posted a full 3D model of his like artist character and like composited he made it look like it was literally on our 3D website. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah, fun. I love it.
It was so good. It really like fooled me. Like, I thought Dotta had maybe uploaded this without telling me or something.
I did think that it was a pizza, and it made me hungry.
Yeah, I can see that. And then 0x Dilo posted some really fun Shadow Hat art of his wizard eating a jelly donut. I think my favorite detail about this piece is that he's wearing Nikes. And then yeah, and then Jimmy Jag ETH posted this really, I don't know what this is. It's like some 3D program called Spline, and it just looks like a fun little test that he put a 3D wizard into. Do you know anything about this program
It's
called
like,
Spline?
yeah, it's a newer online tool for like 3D editing, and I think it uses, I don't know the term, SDF, SDL, like basically non-destructive like modeling operations, whatever that's called. Like basically vector 3D models. And it's almost like Figma. So it's like, you can share with that. So it's a bit easier to use than Blender, all of that. So
That's cool.
I loved it. I just wanted to wonder if they could support like the walk cycles or something. I don't know if we have to like pre-make those.
I think it's a modeling tool more than like a game engine, but I think that that's pretty new. So who knows what they'll add.
Yeah. Okay, and then Magus Devon posted a really cool post, just sort of a thread on how he uses the Book of Lore and the Wikipedia to make his character more accessible. Man, Magus Devon is like a Book of Lore master. I always complain that the Book of Lore is too hard to use and should be more user friendly, but like Magus Devon has basically mastered it. Magus Devon, aka Matto. And then Magic Monday News had Crucifor on as a special guest. No information on if Crucifor played his infamous mouth flute on that episode, but the recording is available. And that's it for the Cult Content Chronicle. And so yeah, let's close out with a piece that Adept Igduel sent me. This is let's see. So Adept says I added my first bit of lore to the book. And I think this is an ongoing piece of lore, but this is the first part. And they've got, I think an AI is narrating this. So let's give this a listen.
In his apprenticeship on the archipelago, the young wizard's tutelage saw him thoroughly uninterested in the arts of alchemy. Though Master Vega's transmutations were renowned throughout the island chain, and the apprentice well understood the privilege of his circumstance, the appeasement of the capital seemed nothing more than an unparalleled bore. In truth, the apprentice had only been to the capital once in the earliest days of his youth. Rarely had he so much as ventured to the other islands of the archipelago, infrequently sent on errands to gather one thing or another for Master Vega's work. Even in these times, no sooner had he moored his small vessel had some vague acquaintance of his master approached, anticipating his arrival, and would, without greeting, hand the apprentice a parcel to be delivered back to Ethereum. It was these sparse outings that the apprentice enjoyed the most, and their appeal grew with age as opportunities to temporarily shirk responsibility and feel the spray of the salt cool on his face. The journeys to the smaller islands were never more than a full day at sea, and when the apprentice was sent away to the outermost inhabited islands, such as Tethys to the east or Aegir to the south, he would pass the night in the apprentice hostels, if they were near the quay, before rising with the sun to set back out for Ethereum. It was on the dreary days in the archives when the apprentice's mind would wander off the island and out to the sea, wishing he might again soon be tasked to collect a sample from a hooded stranger before whiling the night away on an imbira and dreaming of fantasies to lay in verse over the sweet reverberations of its quivering tines. There at the archive, the drones of the guild buzzed about the apprentice in a flurry of robes and wafts of malodorous substances, while he sat hunched over open books, nearly hidden in surrounding stacks in a failing attempt to study the craft. At his stage in his apprenticeship, he was disallowed entry to the few laboratories below the archive, where the masters and their compagnons would work on transmuting resources into goods for export to the capital, or on occasion, on commission from the wizards in the delta to the north, or even less likely, by hidden order from those in the pavilion southwest. Though there existed a typical hum of interest among the shelves of the archive, despite the signs requesting quiet, the din had risen to a degree unacceptable for all but the most studious, absorbed in alchemical theory. The apprentice had taken to tracing the lines of words in hard-bound volume before him with his finger, when those hushed tones grew to the unrestricted cacophony that surrounded him. Just as he caught the word, hanging in the dank air of the room, he heard the striking of the bell, Chrysopoeia. The bell's heavy tone rang out, penetrating the rough-hewn walls of the archive and mingling with the word. They had finally succeeded. If the librarian had struck the bell, the fact was verified and recorded. He had wondered how the masters had done it. What elements had they entwined to produce that smooth, delicate metal? He wondered if the stocks of lead in the laboratories had dwindled to nothing in their search, chasing the myths. The apprentice wondered if those myths were now in the annals as truth. Momentarily, he felt a strange shame in his rank, that he was unable to assist with that hallmark discovery, whose grandeur now found celebration from every mouth on Ethereum. However, those farther away from the archive might not understand the breadth of the accomplishment, but as the news travelled, they soon would. Any chime of the bell certified progress to its audience, and though it wasn't always the case, that progress was usually to the great benefit of the islands. The librarian was steadfast in the alert. It was clear even over the chatter in the archive, which had then regressed into scattered groups of conversation. The apprentice hadn't peeled away from his stacks of literature, and in fact his finger still held his place when he first saw Master Vega enter the room. In the air of euphoria, her graven face was unmistakable. She stopped at the room's entrance, falling still to scan the area, and only resumed motion once she caught the apprentice's gaze, which he quickly returned to his book. He was gliding his finger along the page, when out of his peripheral vision, he saw the robes of his master come to a halt beside his table. "Follow," she said. "You may bring the book if you insist on perpetuating this illusion." And then, after plucking a volume from the middle of one of the apprentice's stacks, she began to exit without waiting, thumbing through the book's pages as she hurried away. Leaving his heaps as they lay, he gathered himself and followed Master Vega's leave. In her study, she asked the apprentice to close the door behind himself. Before he could speak his congratulations on the master's new discovery, she spoke. "I'm sending you to the capital." She was scrawling something on a small scroll of parchment at her desk. The apprentice couldn't read the words from his vantage point, but saw that his master's hurried hand had smudged her ink as she wrote. In other places on the parchment, the dark excess liquid had dripped from her quill across the page, blotting and bleeding as it dried, seeping into the fibers. "Yes, master," the apprentice said. It was indeed his only option, in truth. He held his tongue in his congratulations and bit it at the thought of its releasing a question seeking information above his rank. "Very good," Master Vega replied, as she rolled the parchment tightly before flattening its middle with a seal of wax, stamped with the insignia of the alchemists. The woman also produced something from a top drawer on her desk, then stood and relayed the message to her apprentice, which he took with great care. In her other hand, she revealed a slice of lagana, tearing it in half and handing one of its pieces to the apprentice, who took this too with great care. It was still warm. "I apologize," Master Vega said, "for the lack of ceremony. There simply is not time." With nothing more, she ate the bread. She must have had the refectory staff bake it that very morning, and that made the apprentice wonder how long the masters had known about the transmutation. How long had that new and unsullied gold sat in the laboratory, slick, gleaming, and observed? The apprentice also ate his half of the lagana, swallowing to say, "Thank you, Master Vega." "You may thank the Ouroboros sapling. You are not yet oak," she repeated. "There is no time. Go."
I love that you threw the Ouroboros in at the end.
That was so good.
Yeah, man. So many people in our community are such sophisticated writers, just such elegant prose in the Book of Lore, and I don't think it was the British AI voice that made me think that. I think it was genuinely good writing.
The accent didn't hurt though.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think that might be the first bit of lore I've heard that takes place on the archipelago. One of my favorite places in the universe. All right. Thank you so much for that, Adept Igduil. Can't wait to see where this story goes. But I think we are out of time. Bear, Dotta, anything else?
My phone's about to die, so yeah, it's probably a good time to wrap.
All right then. Have fun at Seagraph, Bear.
Thanks. I'm
Dotta,
gonna go.
anything else?
I'm good.
Well, in that case, let's let the careless whisper of George Michael take us out of the Quantum Downs. This has been Elf, Bear, Dotta, Matatsuki, and all of the wizards in Forgotten Runes Wizards Cult, channeling out from the Quantum Downs. The end, everybody.
Stay magic.
Bye.